I would say I really like the game. I'm having a really fun time with it. I would say the story for me is absolutely not clicking in almost any way. Like there's nothing that has caught me at all with the story yet where I'm like, this is interesting at all. So if by watching this I become more intrigued with the story, and even if it spoils things, if it interests me in a little bit more so that I know what's going on enough so that I can enjoy it more, then I think that is a good thing. And it's not like this is some game that I've been waiting forever, and oh no, if it's spoiled, then it's like, oh no. It's like, no, it's fine. I'm just trying to enjoy this game and kind of get into it and whatnot, and all that stuff. All right, so we're gonna watch it. This is a video from Michael Saba.
These days, it's easy to feel like life has become a never-ending fight for survival.
True.
Wake up, go to work, hate life, come home, take the edge off, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, but what if I don't feel like that? What if my life's pretty damn good? You know what I'm saying? Like I work from home and I drink coffee every day, and that's enough to excite me. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, let's move on.
Never ends. So when the crushing pointlessness of this grind gets you down, it's only natural to want to indulge in some kind of...
Oh, he got the special edition, dude. I can't relate. I hate my life on a primal level. I know. I think there's like something like about like the internet and like certain internet cultures and like, especially I think with like this permeates through all of internet culture, but I think it also really permeates in like the video game culture. There is kind of this like helplessness of just like, life sucks, and that's why we're just online playing video games all the time. Like there is like a bit of that. I feel like that I have related with a lot when I was younger, but as I'm growing up, I don't think that's true. And like I've really found a lot of like happiness and joy in the world. But like that's not to say that like, oh, that's invalid that people think and feel like that. Like no, it's absolutely valid. And and I can relate to it. It's like I've felt like I've worked in restaurants and kitchens. I've worked Uber. I've worked like the worst jobs ever for like decades, for like literally decades already. Like I'm 34. I've been working for 20 years. I guess about 5 of those years I've enjoyed my job, right? But like I've worked in like dishwashing, kitchens, Uber, like retail. Like I've done those jobs for not just like, oh, like for a summer. I've done them for like 3 to 4 years, multiple locations, multiple companies, where like life has absolutely sucked and felt like that. I guess I'm just happy and optimistic because of where I'm at in my life. Just personal stuff, like I just got engaged. I have a nice new apartment. I have a lot of friends around me now because I moved to a town where I grew up, and I'm pretty happy right now. But fucking okay, who cares? Let's watch the video.
It's one of the many reasons I like video games so much, and if you're watching this video, I bet you feel the same way. This creates an interesting contradiction. In one context, rote, day-to-day repetition can be a source of anxiety,
movie,
depression, and hopelessness. But when we change the context to video games...
Sorry, I didn't read what you were saying, Mischievous. Older trans woman with no financial or romantic prospects and a job that literally crushes people's souls. That's me. Teehee. Aw, I'm sorry. That sucks. Yeah. And I definitely can empathize with you. Like, obviously, like that's like I was saying, like that's not where I'm at right now. But yeah, I mean, like shit, you got to have like there's no like if people are feeling like that and they're in their individual situations that suck, like I mean, yeah, like there's nothing that I'm going to say of just like, oh, actually it's not that bad. Like no, like shit sucks and there's nothing I can do about it. Brazil scared the crap out of me. Brazil? What are you talking about? Brazil? Do you live in Brazil? I've been to Brazil. I went there last year. Congrats to your fiance, a new place. Happy you found your way to a good place. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. The movie Brazil. Oh, the movie Brazil. No, that was Metropolis. I don't think I've seen the movie Brazil. Oh, that sounds familiar.
These repetitive mechanical acts can have an entirely different effect on how you perceive the world.
Oh, he's got
By
some like
changing our perception of
German
reality,
tattooed on his arm.
games have the power to help us find joy and purpose in even the most unexpected places.
Oh, I haven't seen.
And yet it's still relatively.
I haven't played Undertale, but I want to. I think maybe it said the movie down here and it covered it up. I bought this game, but I haven't played it yet.
Rare to see a game use their mechanical foundation, the combination of interactivity and repetitive action, to deliver an explicit message to the player. Which is why Nier Automata is one of the most meaningful and moving games I've ever played. This game has already gotten
and the thing is, people say that, and hey, I absolutely want to respect and give this game its dues, and that's why I want to kind of learn about it, because I'm like, I just don't feel like I'm understanding it quite yet.
Lots of praise and even more analysis and critique,
and that's probably because I'm stupid. Like, I don't think I'm that stupid, but maybe I'm stupid enough where this shit's going over my head.
18 months after release, I still haven't seen anyone fully explain just what makes this game so special. So, here I am.
There he is.
I'm Michael Saba, and I produce video essays about the transformative potential of games, movies, and pop culture, a series I call Dreaming in Neon.
Dude had 6,000 subscribers then, and now he has 88,000. Dude, this video, over 1 million views. Dude, that just goes to show you shit can blow up, huh?
Come with me if you want to live, because this is a story about the joy of being alive. A story that could only be told by a video game.
Oh yeah, at the end, 9S became the thing. That was kind of cool. But then I think the third ending, you fight as this guy, because there's certain things around the game where they were like, it was like there was items that it seemed like only he could get. Nope. Okay, well, we'll see.
Everything that lives is designed to end.
Okay.
We are perpetually trapped.
Sure.
In a never-ending spiral of life and death.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Is this a curse? Or some kind of punishment?
It's just the way things are.
I often think about the God who blessed us with this cryptic puzzle, and wonder if we'll ever have the chance to kill him.
Whoa.
It might sound silly to think that a video game like Nier...
That's one of those things, dude. I almost watched a YouTube video the other day where they were like, it was like all about like, why do you always kill gods in JRPGs? But then like, it was like, this video contains spoilers to Persona 5. And I'm playing that right now. So I was like, all right, not watching this video. But I don't understand that concept of like killing God that a lot of Japanese games and movies and stuff, have some sort of like, it's like the end of like a lot of things, like the Evangelion. What else? There's so many things that are like that where you end up just fighting God at the end. I mean, so many like Final Fantasies, you're basically fighting God almost at the end of every one of them.
Automata has anything profound to say about these big-picture questions of existence. This is an over-the-top spectacle action game starring sexy Harajuku goth ninjas, equal parts pitch-black humor and hyper-violent ballet. Calling the game's tone uneven is being charitable. Now, if you're as overly familiar with Japanese pop culture as I am, then these wild juxtapositions in tone might not seem so strange. But Nier Automata takes it to an extreme.
Yeah. Yeah, the little creepy baby voice, nursery rhyme stuff. They don't want to fight, yeah. Yeah, this fight was awesome.
These different tonal elements clash so hard that this game just shouldn't work.
Yeah.
And yet, when you scratch beneath the surface and engage with Nier Automata's story, themes, and systems, a more complicated...
Yeah, they, like, these robots are, like, very, like, innocent and childlike. Like, this game has, like, a very, like, weird things where it's, like, there's, like this childlike innocence, like, that like, the robots have. There's, like, the super hyper over-sexualizations of, like, the androids. And then, like, there's the philosophy stuff, which is just kind of, for me, like, undertones, really. Like, I don't think I've connected all the dots there with that. But yeah, this game has like a whole bunch of weird stuff in it. Absolutely. But I don't know, like, for me, like, it works because of that. But anyways, let's let him talk about it.
Complicated picture emerges. The game invokes and then subverts philosophical concepts drawn from 3,000 years of human history, both Eastern and Western. Nier Automata's story repeatedly references famous philosophers and schools of thought, and then takes them to their logical conclusion and deconstructs them, using the game's far-future sci-fi setting.
Does it? Okay.
The question,
Show
what
me.
if robots were like humans, has been asked in fiction many times already, and Nier Automata has no interest in beating this dead horse. This game is far more interested in using its sci-fi premise to interrogate exactly what makes us human in the first place.
Okay.
Our ideals and values
Show me that.
and consciousness itself. The game's themes ask a difficult question that has no easy answer. Can we ever resolve the big questions about the meaning of life, or are we just clinging to superstitions that provide structure to a meaningless existence? And most importantly, Nier fully understands and celebrates how its unique perspective can only be expressed in one medium: video games.
Oh, what you choose, and then you got to fight each other?
In the
Ha
far
ha ha.
future
That's
wasteland
cool.
of 11,945 AD during the 14th Machine War. These are big, impressive numbers that might make you think there's tons of lore and history here, but they're barely explained or given context.
Yeah.
The year 11,945 is one of the game's handful of oblique references to World War II, but these dates are otherwise completely arbitrary, which drives home the mythic and near-religious
Yeah,
nature of
that
this
makes sense.
long-running conflict. Nier Automata presents us with a world filled with artificial beings.
Yeah, like I like the intro of the game. They're like after the 14th like machine war or some bullshit, and it's like, were there really 14? Like they don't explain all of them. It's basically at the end. It basically there was a big war, right? They said 14 because who the hell knows? There was that many, maybe, you know. But basically it's yeah, like it's just an arbitrary kind of number and setting. I get that.
Where a mysterious plague and invasion of alien machines have wiped humanity from the Earth. The last remnants of human civilization are gone, fled to a hidden base on the moon. To beat back the invasion, humanity deploys Yorha, an army of advanced combat androids who wage an unending war against the alien machines. The machines are blocky rust buckets that recall vintage 1950s sci-fi films.
Yeah.
On the other side, the sleek, elegant, and attractive androids are built in humanity's image. They're seemingly identical to their parents, with a single shared reason for existence that also serves as their rallying cry.
Yeah.
Glory to mankind.
Yeah, but I have a feeling that like there aren't even any humans, by the way. That's my feeling. Like, because also like there's that recording of like the dude on the moon, and like nine ass is like, sounds very like automated and lifeless kind of, you know, and it's like that's supposed to be the human, right? I think the human, it's just a recording and there's no more humans, and this is like some endless pointless war.
The war between androids and machines raged for thousands of years, eventually grinding to a stalemate, with both factions locked in an endless back-and-forth struggle. The humans who created the androids and the aliens who built the machines are all conspicuously absent from this conflict, while their children fight an eternal proxy war on behalf of their creators. In Nier Automata, life itself has become artificial. Now, before we dive much further into this analysis, we first need to talk about Yoko Taro.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it. What's up, Yoko Taro? What?
Taro is that ultimate rarity in the world of video games.
What?
An auteur. He's a creator with a distinct vision that's always front and center in his work, starting with his very first game.
All right, hold on. All right, so this dude just does this, and we just like, oh, dude, he's very deep. See, dude, check it out. He's an artist. Get it? He's an artist.
Distinct vision that's always front and center in his work, starting with his very first game, 2003's Drakengard, or Dragon Dragoon in Japan.
What's this? I don't know that game.
Has dark sensibilities.
Does he?
His games deal with very grim themes like genocide, emotional and physical abuse, religious fundamentalism, and characters who, despite their innate goodness or efforts at redemption, almost always suffer unhappy and bitter endings. But this heavy subject matter is the furthest thing from being edgy for edgy's sake. These themes are always used in service to a larger point. When so much of our gaming entertainment revolves around pointless destruction and the ruthless killing of hundreds or thousands of opponents,
it's
is
fun.
a stereotypical happy ending appropriate, or...
I know you're watching a spoiler video, but I don't want to volunteer anything unless you ask. Yeah, that's probably good.
what we really deserve? This is a question worth asking, and very few games seem to find time for it.
Why did you come here?
Metal Gear Solid, yeah, that's
I will
right.
tell you then.
The Ocelot?
You enjoy all the killing.
I forget who that was. Is that...
Taro's games often ask us to be sympathetic to villains that are every bit as flawed and complicated as the heroes, driving home the senselessness of the slaughter that the player is committing.
Oh.
His games are like lovingly crafted cult classic B-movies. They rarely sell blockbuster numbers, and they're always a little rough around the edges. But there's an undeniable level of thoughtfulness and artistry that went into their creation.
Absolutely.
And for his part,
Undeniable.
Taro is humble and self-deprecating, and even seems a little uncomfortable with the notion that he's any kind of auteurist figurehead. He rarely appears in public without his trademark mask, a rounded skull with a rictus grin. He's the kind of guy who even does interviews entirely via sock puppet. In his 2014 GDC talk, Making Weird Games for Weird People, Taro actively pushes back against the notion that game stories have to be told in the traditional Hollywood style of a 3-act arc with rising and falling tension. Instead, he approaches the writing and development process by asking how best to evoke emotions in the player and move them on an unconscious, even spiritual level.
Players will play the game and hopefully feel something, an emotion.
Okay.
I design games and write stories, but my goal is to cause an emotional stir inside the player's brain. So, the fundamental goal isn't inside the game sitting in the middle. It's the event that occurs inside the player's brain. This is the goal we must consider most important.
His games don't try to tell an easily understood story that can be...
I think, like, I really appreciate that, but it's one of those things. It's like you don't appreciate it though when you don't like agree with someone's viewpoint. But it's like it doesn't really matter if somebody can do it in such a beautiful way that it's like they're not even like advocating for a viewpoint. They're just like showing you a viewpoint, right? Rather than trying to like say accept this viewpoint. It's like, no, just experience this viewpoint, right? Because that's where like you're respecting the person that's viewing it, and you're not like trying to like say like, oh, I'm trying to change you and make you think like I think because I'm right and you're wrong, right? I feel like that's kind of like where it teeters on like a game preaching at you versus a game like respecting you and like showing you something that maybe you're uncomfortable with, and making you like comfortably be uncomfortable and being able to like ask yourself like, why am I uncomfortable with this, and maybe evoke, like he said, emotions in you. I actually really do appreciate that. I don't know that if he successfully does this or doesn't do this in the game because I haven't beat all of the 100 endings yet.
Transcribed onto a wiki page and then neatly strung together in a lore synopsis video. Trying to analyze Taro's games purely through their stories and lore actually makes them more difficult to understand and ultimately more unsatisfying to play. This isn't my interpretation or extrapolation. Taro himself has said that the moment-to-moment plot details of his games are basically nonsense, and that his games are not written in the usual linear...
See, I'll say that makes it hard for me, not hard for me to enjoy it, but it makes it hard for me because like it makes me hard to for me to follow it, because I will kind of like try to find meaning and try to like figure things out of like, well, what is this? What is this? What is that? And to know that like that's not what the game's point is. It's like it should be obvious, you know, but it's it is helpful for me to hear that, because it's like I don't feel like I'm missing something, right? Because before I was kind of like feeling like, oh, maybe I missed something that made sense or this or that, and that's not really it. So that's very good to know. I do feel like I'll be able to enjoy the game better now that I don't have to like hang on every word of like the plot, right?
Fashion. Instead, Taro approaches a story with the main theme or emotional message he wants to deliver, and then works backward from there, filling in the blanks as he goes.
Okay.
This is especially apparent with Nier Automata, and it's why most of the analysis I've seen of this game so far has pretty much missed the mark. If you only focus on the story or lore, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger themes and ultimately the message the game is trying to express to the player.
Okay. What path will you take? It's up to you to decide. Okay, yeah.
Taro is not trying to sell you the latest update to a product you've already bought before. He's a game maker who wants to directly address you, the player in front of the screen. And toying with and subverting the expectations of that audience is one of Taro's main storytelling devices. Taro's vision as a game director had been constrained to mostly small to medium budget projects for the better part of 2 decades. Then, by some miracle, Square Enix gave the green light to a big budget, far future sci-fi sequel to the PS3 game Nier, which was itself a spin-off of the original Drakengard series. The sequel would be directed by Taro and developed by Platinum Games, a studio founded by former Capcom devs who have an impeccable pedigree when it comes to stylish action games.
Yeah,
The
Bayonetta.
stage was set, and the right pieces were in place for something amazing to happen.
Finding meaning in a meaningless world. Yeah. It's existentialism.
Before Nier Automata even begins, it breaks the fourth wall and addresses you, the player. During the installation screen, you're prompted to choose a response to a handful of questions, with each new question asking you to further interrogate your last response. From its opening moments, the game is asking the player to confront its central theme,
I remember
the
this.
struggle to find meaning in existence. And once you answer this handful of questions, the prompts return to the beginning and repeat until the installation is complete.
In a never-ending spiral of life and death.
Oh, that's just when you're
suggests a
installing
certain
it?
futility in ever finding a definitive answer to the meaning of existence. No matter how certain you are in your belief system, there's always another question, another angle, that might make you reconsider.
And they never give you
When the main
an answer
characters,
to it all.
your hot androids 2B and 9S, arrive on Earth at the start of the game, the player soon finds that the so-called 14th Machine War is nothing like the epic struggle established in the intro. Each quest or cutscene reveals a new twist. Androids are deserting their posts left and right, falling in love with each other, getting high on synthetic stimulants, and learning how to cook. Meanwhile,
I
the
must have missed
machines
that
appear
one.
to have gained a limited form of sentience and are imitating the social behavior of Earth's former human inhabitants, becoming more and more like the advanced androids in the process.
Yeah.
As the game progresses, the story gains context.
Yeah, I think that's interesting that there's like some type of a distinction between like the machines and androids, because for us it's like, yeah, they're both like, I guess one looks more human than the other. That's the difference between a machine and an android, but they're both behaving like humans. But I guess that's the point, isn't it? So let's continue watching.
And wait from these small, humanizing moments. And like the plot, the gameplay also functions as a mosaic of smaller details forming a bigger picture. Nier constantly switches between different mechanics and perspectives. There's the main third-person slash-em-up gameplay, sequences that play like a top-down twin-stick shooter, side-scroll platforming sections, vertical and horizontal shmup levels, and
Yeah,
even a text
that's
adventure.
sick, dude. I love that.
The game's story also changes from one playthrough to the next. After completing your first run of the game as the character 2B, you start a second playthrough as a new character, 9S. And once you're finished with the second playthrough, you'll start the third as A2.
Oh,
This
okay,
cycle
see,
of
I didn't know
repetition
that
provides
one
the
yet.
player with not only different combat mechanics, but also a new point of view and perspective on the game's plot. Fresh exposition and plot details offer new context and new interpretations for a story you thought you already understood.
Right.
Enemies who seemed crazy or psychopathic in one playthrough are revealed to be perfectly understandable and even sympathetic the next time around.
Ah, these
The
dudes.
experience drives home that this is an artificial world where nothing has a fixed meaning and nothing is what it seems. No matter what kind of preconceived notions you have about this game and its over-the-top melodramatic
That's the
anime narrative,
That's the Romeo and Juliet. I love this one. That was really funny. This was really good. I love that they added the robot Romeo and Juliet.
Nier will subvert those expectations and turn them on their head. As the story unfolds, 2B and 9S discover that small groups of machines have begun to assume a crude form of consciousness, imitating past human societies and forming their own small pockets of civilization. And among each of these machine collectives are unique robots that have inherited the names and beliefs of famous philosophers from throughout human history. The game is both critical and subversive of these different theorists and their ideas, and it doesn't try to hide it. Whether they're an NPC, a boss fight, or a quest giver, these philosophers are obstacles to be overcome, and they almost always come to an unhappy end.
Yeah, but
So
we
if we're
kill
going to
them.
deconstruct this game properly, we first need to take a step back and look at the whole of the work, and the sum of the different ideas it's trying to express.
Okay.
The Gestalt.
All right. What? What? Ship of the thesis. What is this? We're only 15 minutes into this, by the way. We're 1/3 of the way.
In one of the very first quests in the game, you're asked to fetch spare parts for an android shopkeeper who can't leave his post due to a broken leg.
Right.
After completing the quest, 9S and 2B ask the shopkeeper why he still hasn't replaced his leg, especially now that he's been supplied with plenty of fresh components. He responds with his own question. Over many years and even more battles, he's replaced every single part in his body, except for his still broken leg. If he replaces this last original part of himself, does he really exist anymore? Or has he become a different and entirely new person?
Right.
This is a famous philosopher.
Yeah, that's the one. He's about to say that's the one with the ship. The ship, right? Like if you replace every part of the ship, is it the same ship or not? Yeah.
Philosophical riddle known as the Ship of Theseus paradox.
There you go.
It originated in ancient
Got
1st century
one.
Athens when the historian Plutarch posed this question. The Ship of Theseus from Greek mythology is on display in a museum. As the pieces of the ship are repaired and replaced down through the years, is it still the same ship after every original part has been swapped out? Plutarch didn't know it at the time.
Right, because there's an essence. You can believe there's like an essence of the ship that's separate from its material pieces, right?
But his paradox is also relevant to human biology.
I think, right?
Like the Ship of Theseus, the cells in the human body continuously die off and regenerate. If you're 30, there are no original cells left in your body from when you were 10.
Damn.
So if there's nothing left of you from 20 years ago, are you really still the same person you were at age 10?
Well, there's memories.
For our robot shopkeeper, the prospect is scary enough that he refuses to fix his broken leg, forcing him to spend the rest of his days squatting in the resistance camp.
Interesting.
The Ship of Theseus is a paradox that strikes at the very heart of existence, and it's no coincidence that it's the theme of one of the first quests in Nier Automata.
Yeah. See, I like when they have things like that in the game, but like I will say it's like let me just keep watching before I say this stuff, because let me just keep watching.
The game is foregrounding these ideas for the audience, planting seeds, and inviting you to pay attention to the deeper message.
Yeah, see, all that went over my head a bit, obviously, right? I didn't read all the stuff because I was like, okay, you want items? Okay, great, I'll go get you items. Like I just didn't pay attention to it. So I'm glad that I'm learning that stuff, because I'll be honest, it's like I did not pay attention enough during the playthrough. Because I just didn't care. I just didn't think that like the text mattered. You know, maybe if it was like delivered with voice dialogue or something, maybe it would have been more impactful. But who knows? Well, you know, it's my fault,
Simone de Beauvoir
probably.
Was a 20th century French theorist who wrote The Second Sex, which is considered to be both an important philosophical text
Right.
in its own right and one of the first major works of 20th century second wave feminism. In it, de Beauvoir theorized that the female gender, the notion that women are somehow innately separate to or different from men, is not an objective fact of nature. Rather, women's status as a separate sex is socially constructed and reinforced by changing societal norms that are not rooted in biology or hard science. De Beauvoir argued that our ideas of womanhood and femininity are instead determined by an external view, or gaze, the gaze of society, specifically men. For de Beauvoir, womanhood is just a performance, complete with its own costumes and makeup. And crucially, the female sex can only exist as the other side of the coin to manhood, which is also a performance, but one that's treated as the default standard view. In Nier Automata, Simone appears as the boss of the amusement park zone, and during the second playthrough, we learn her background.
I bet so, Mischievous. I bet so. Yeah, I mean that's a big question. That's a big thing. Especially, I guess like the question I would have there is like, how is this even seen today? Like, because they were saying that second wave feminism. Like, I wonder how her work is viewed today. I don't know.
Backstory. She fell in love with the robot philosopher Jean-Paul, but he did not love her back. Desperate for his affection, she cannibalizes the other machines around her and festoons.
Her story is very tragic. Was she the one that had to do with the other philosopher? Here, let's go back. What were they saying?
In Nier Automata, Simone appears as the boss of the amusement park zone.
Right.
And during the second playthrough, we learn her backstory.
Oh, I didn't get the second play. Damn it. Okay. All
She
right,
fell in
let's
love
hear
with
it.
the robot philosopher Jean-Paul, but he did
Right.
not love her back.
Jean-Paul Sartre, right? And that's that dude that like whenever like he like asks for gifts and whatnot, right? And then or no, he doesn't ask for gifts. All of the other robots are giving you gifts to give to him, and he doesn't care. And that's apparently like what happened in real life, right? With these two, because they're both philosophers, right? And like this was like how he really was, yeah.
Desperate for his affection, she cannibalizes the other machines around her and festoons herself with their parts. Just like her real-life counterpart theorized, Simone is performing femininity for a man in order to be seen and validated by him. But unlike the real Simone de Beauvoir, the object of her affections just doesn't give a damn. This references the similarly troubled real-world relationship between Simone de Beauvoir and Jean-Paul Sartre, only in an ironic reversal. The real de Beauvoir and Sartre had an open, polyamorous relationship, but Sartre...
Hot damn, dude! This dude was going around town, dude. That's right. This dude, one wasn't enough. This dude wanted 2 or 3.
Sartre was often jealous of de Beauvoir's other partners, and would
Dude, with his lazy attitude, dude, this dude was getting around.
try to seduce them. During the boss battle against Simone, there's even a sequence where the game takes control of the camera away from the player.
Oh, do you do the hacking? Okay. Oh, this is coming up. I can't wait to do this boss fight again, dude. This boss fight was so freaking hard.
While the boss begs the player to look at them. This was the moment that made me sit up.
Oh wait, say that again. Because yeah, the camera angle changes, and she wants you to look at her, but you don't look at her.
Often jealous of de Beauvoir's other partners, and would try to seduce them.
Oh, that's interesting.
During the boss battle against Simone, there's even a sequence where the game takes control of the camera away
Yeah.
from the player.
This part
while
was
the boss
annoying.
begs the player to look at them.
That went over my head that she was begging us to look at her. I didn't notice that. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, I actually am glad I'm watching it and while I'm still playing the game, because I do feel like I can appreciate it more while I'm playing it. Because I wouldn't have picked that up on the second one either. I mean, maybe unless they make it a lot more obvious.
This was the moment that made me sit up in my chair and realize this game might actually be goddamn brilliant. Regardless of which way you move the right analog stick, the camera resists the player's input. You cannot look.
Dude, I was bitching about this so much. I was like, dude, this camera angle is borderline bullshit. I was so freaking mad. He only noticed it on the second playthrough. Yeah, dude, but I wouldn't have noticed it on the 5th playthrough. Like, I never would have figured it out. I was like, this camera angle makes it so I can get hit by shit, and I don't see it coming, and it's not fair, and it's bullshit. And I hated this camera angle. It bugged the hell out of me because I'd be like jumping, and then like the wave would come and it'd fuck me up every time. Oh man, that's great.
No matter what. Simone is performing her gender, but no one is watching. Not Jean-Paul, and not the player.
But what does that mean then? So she's performing it and no one's watching. So is she I guess is that almost a critique of her thing? Because it's like, if she's performing it and you only and her theory is that you only are a woman because of the gaze, and then she's performing it and nobody's looking, is she or is she not a woman? Is that kind of the question there? Like, it's not just like it's kind of like the question of like it's just kind of like raising a question. It's not really like answering anything, right? Yeah, I think. Interesting. It's kind of like if the tree falls in the forest, does it doesn't make a noise, right? Well, if you're performing and no one look at you, what are you? And then you kill her. Yeah, is that connected? Wait, yeah. Well, we'll see. What I don't know. I don't know the answer to any of those questions. I just knew that was a hella hard boss fight. I fought her for like 2 to 3 hours, and oh my god, it was so hard. Really fun though. Really fun boss fight. That was an awesome boss fight.
Blaise Pascal was a 17th century French mathematician and philosopher who wrote several groundbreaking texts
Pascal's wager.
on geometry.
This is like the one where you're like, if you want to, you might as well just believe God exists because you're like covering your bases, right? That's basically it. Because if you don't, then you're gonna go to hell. But if you do, then worst case scenario, you were wrong, and then nothing different happens. So
and probability theory. He is most well known for his collected writings on Christianity and religion, Pensées, or Thoughts. In Pensées, he makes the argument now known as Pascal's wager, which drew on his background as a mathematician and statistician. If it's impossible to either prove or disprove the existence of God, how can we decide whether or not to believe in a supreme being?
It's hard. That's a
For
hard one.
Pascal, statistics and probability suggest that we should believe in God. If we're wrong, nothing happens when we die. If we're right, we enjoy an eternity in heaven. But if we disbelieve in a God that does exist, then our punishment is eternal suffering in hell. This is, at its heart, an argument rooted in fear. The fear of death and fear of hell as a punishment after death. Pascal and his wager suggest that this fear of God's vengeance should motivate us to live pious and virtuous lives. Pascal makes an appearance in Automata as the leader of a group of pacifistic machines who have disconnected from their network.
And he helps you out at the end.
Form a communal village in the forest and
He's
dedicate
dope.
themselves to peace and nonviolence. Late in the game, the village comes under attack, and Pascal flees to a nearby factory along with the village's children. After Pascal and the player fight off a horde of murderous machines descending on the factory, we return to their underground hideout
I haven't done that part
a
yet.
scene of horror. Pascal's children
Spoilers.
have all committed suicide.
Oh, dude,
He realizes that in educating the village's children, he made a mistake. He taught them the concept of fear, thinking it would keep them safe and help them avoid danger. Like his real-world counterpart, Pascal believed that virtuous existence requires a fear of powers greater than yourself. But this same fear also poisoned his children, causing them to kill themselves before the rampaging machines could.
Because they were so afraid.
And what book does the player deliver to the machine Pascal right before the tragedy?
Dude, that is a good dude, that's cool. That's good. I mean, it's not cool, but you know what I'm saying. Like that's like a really like interesting like way of showing that, because it's like I feel like people that like teach their children fear, because like in hopes that it will protect them, don't understand maybe the harm that it actually does to them, to instill fear in them for things that maybe they shouldn't be afraid of, that they maybe should stand up in the face of and overcome, right? That's interesting.
Tragedy unfolds. Pensées. Fear of death.
And then
is no way to live. Also poisoned his children.
There was something with a book,
causing them to kill themselves before the rampaging machines.
The book he gives her is.
And what book does the player deliver to the machine Pascal right before the tragedy unfolds? Pensées.
And that's the book. That's Pascal's book. Okay.
Fear of death.
In IRL.
No way to live.
Exactly.
Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it?
That's right.
That's what it
Dude, this scene's so cool. I love this shit.
is to be a slave.
Dude, was it like teardrops in the rain? Is that what he's like that little speech he does? Like, oof, so good.
Jean-Paul Sartre lived in France during the early 20th century and is considered one of the West's most famous modern philosophers. He published Being and Nothingness in 1943, which is a foundational text.
Dude, I gotta say though, dude, Being and Nothing, dude, this dude is so emo, dude. If this dude doesn't just like, if this dude isn't, what's that one dude? I'm like blanking on it. If this dude didn't influence Elliott Smith to stick himself with a knife, I don't know who did. Like, this dude's so emo.
Of the
Being and Nothingness, dude. Like, this guy comes to the concert and he has his hands in his pocket and he's in the corner. And to be fair, that was me. That was me in high school, absolutely.
Existentialist school of philosophy.
Oh, what were you saying here? It's balanced because if you're taught not to fear anything, then you are just as a fault, or just at fault. Yeah, you're absolutely right too. Yeah, because if you don't teach people fear and then they just run head on into danger without preparation and like a healthy amount of fear, then you're absolutely responsible for that. Yeah, absolutely.
Explores human consciousness and asks whether our existence has any inherent, innate meaning. Sartre's existentialism has a single...
So whenever someone says like meaning, like okay, no, you know what? I'm not going to get into it. I haven't thought about this enough yet in years. I used to think about this stuff a lot, like when people would say things of like, what's the meaning of life? And then like I like thought about like the word. I thought a lot about what people mean when they say the word meaning, right? Because it's like usually how we define meaning is like how something is in reference to something else. It's like words. It's like the breaking down of words. That's, you know, these philosophers, they love that stuff too. What is it? What's that theory that they do where they basically deconstruct words and everything, right? So you can deconstruct like the word meaning and like what do you mean when you say meaning? So then when you say what is the meaning of life, it's like what in reference to life. See, this is why I said like I shouldn't talk about this, because I don't actually have something like intelligent to say at the end of what I was saying. But like I've like thought about it a lot, and it's just like I think when you say what is the meaning of life, I think that that word meaning is like ill-defined, I think, for most people. Like if you think about it, like what do you mean when you say what is the meaning of life? Like what about life is like I think if you could even answer that question, I think that would be just as like insightful to somebody as if they could answer what is the meaning of life. Because it's like if you could answer what the word meaning means, then you could answer what is the meaning of life. Because I think the question, it's like you've heard it enough where it's like you're like, oh yeah, the meaning of life, nobody knows. But it's like I don't think that question makes a lot of sense how it's phrased in the first place. But anyways, again, like I said, I don't think I'm saying anything revolutionary here, and I probably should have just kept watching this video and not have gone on that tangent. But hey, we're on the internet. This is what we're doing.
Simple starting point. Existence precedes essence.
I don't know what that
is
means.
To say,
I've heard it, but I
an
don't know what it
individual
means.
person's free will and lived experience defines the world for them in ways that are unique for that person. Every person's existence is unique, which in turn gives us all our own unique essence. This means that the first and only thing humans can be 100% sure of is our own existence and consciousness.
Yeah, I agree.
For Sartre, individual consciousness is the answer to the existentialist riddle and proof that humans possess free will. Sartre appears in Nier Automata as a top-hatted robot in Pascal's machine village. He spends so much of his time on screen spouting ponderous, self-centered philosophy that our protagonists show open contempt for him and his ideas. His questline revolves around delivering him love notes from adoring fans, but Sartre is completely self-absorbed and
dude's
refuses to consider the world outside his own head. At the end of the quest, Sartre disappears. He has forsaken everything and gone off in pursuit of some ultimate truth.
Yeah.
This is a
that's selfish.
Direct satire of the self-absorbed and highly individualistic nature of existentialism.
Yeah. That's good. I like that. Yeah, because like I almost stopped the streamer a second ago and here, let's let him say it. Let's
also how the real life Sartre was pretty terrible to the women in his life.
Yeah, I think okay, all right, I'm gonna pause. Yeah, because when they were saying like your individual essence, all that stuff, and it's like I do think that does cause like this like I don't think you find like your meaning and happiness by looking within and like trying to just fulfill and self-actualize yourself, you know. I do think that you find meaning through the connection and your place with the others in your society, your social group, your family, your, you know, all of that. I don't think that it's just purely this like inward like thing where you find, you know yourself so well that you become enlightened. I think that maybe is part of deconstructionism, so that you can know yourself well enough that you can understand where you fit in the node of society and your network of life, you know. But anyways, I think I'm talking a little bit too vague here. Let's just continue on here. Dude, we're doing some armchair like internet philosophy today, dude. We are just like spouting off stuff for that we heard in like our like intro to philosophy class
during the latter half of the 18th century. The German theorist Immanuel Kant produced various works that went on to form the backbone of modern.
Glad you're liking the video. Yeah, no, I'm liking it. It makes me feel like I'm gonna enjoy the game more. I was right that like I think this was a good idea. I really hope that it makes the game more enjoyable. Yeah, I think it will. He's about to talk about Kant, right? I can't remember who Kant is. No, I'm just kidding. I think I remember who Kant is. Let's go.
Immanuel Kant produced various works that went on to form the backbone of modern philosophy.
I was about to say, isn't this dude was like, he had something to do with Christianity too. He had like some kind of or God, or like his philosophy had like something to do with with Christianity or God. I think all of them do, right? Because all these philosophers through the Catholic Church throughout history, that's just like where they all come from, because that's where you had to get educated from. But anyways, let's just move on.
He was a prodigious writer on the topics of ethics, art, politics, and the intersection of science and philosophy.
Okay.
Kant's most famous work was his 1781 book, Critique of Pure Reason. In it, he asserts that the ability to reason, how we process information and make value judgments about the world, is the essential component of the human experience.
Okay.
For Kant, the human mind and intellect are what provide structure and meaning to our everyday life. But Kant also believed that, at the root of everything, the universe was made by God and exists regardless of our attempts to interpret it, what he describes as the Ding an sich, or the thing in itself.
Okay.
In Nier Automata, Kant appears as the reborn king of the Forest Zone. In order to safeguard his people and ensure their prosperity, the Forest King dies so he can be reborn as the egg child, Immanuel, and continue leading his
That's
kingdom.
like Jesus.
Towards the end of the game, we learn that the Forest King's plan was apparently a failure. Immanuel is stuck as an egg child, never hatching or growing older.
Damn.
The thing in itself may exist, but it isn't enough to restore the Forest Kingdom to its former glory.
So it's like, I kind of feel like all of these are like he's like talking about these philosophical ideas, and then he just kind of gives like, not like a critique of it, but just like kind of like brings it to a conclusion that like maybe can be seen as a critique, but in like also other ways is like just maybe like a different way of looking at it that's just like kind of meant to provoke you to think. I enjoy that. Kierkegaard, yeah, dude. I went to this dude's house in Copenhagen. I've been to this dude's house, actually. I took a photo of it when I was like walking around Copenhagen one day. Obviously, he wasn't there. He's dead. He used to live there.
Søren Kierkegaard was a 19th century Danish philosopher and theologian who has an extensive body of work covering topics like organized religion, the ethics of Christianity,
yeah, he's gone.
psychology, and poetry.
Yep.
Kierkegaard's writing was considered to be the precursor to existentialism. He argued that human individuality was a real and concrete thing, thanks to our ability to reason and choose between right and wrong.
Okay.
For Kierkegaard, this concept of humans as the rational animal was far more compelling than the abstract theories of consciousness popular among his contemporaries.
I know it was a joke. I was playing.
Hegel.
I know it was a joke. I'm doing it.
Kierkegaard also wrote many books and essays on the Christian religion, where he argued that the existence of God is a subjective truth that is impossible to either prove or disprove. Belief in God is one of many choices that must be made by rational and self-aware people.
Yeah. I think that's like I mean, is that really saying a whole lot? I mean, like, maybe it's just something we take for granted at this point, but that is like, I think even if you do or don't believe in God, I think that you can kind of think, I don't know, I guess a lot of people that do believe in God, I think, do think that like, well, God exists whether or not. All right, let me not. Let's just keep watching the video.
He's also fiercely critical of religious institutions like the National Church of Denmark, which he saw as a kind of cheap Christianity that provides worshippers with the comfort of strict rules and doctrines, but little in the way of spiritual fulfillment.
Dude. Same, dude. This dude, what, were you born in California as well? Holy shit.
So it's deeply ironic that Kierkegaard appears in Nier Automata as the Pope-like figurehead of a breakaway sect of Catholic-seeming robots dressed like they're straight out of the Vatican.
Yeah,
Similar to
that
Pascal's
was
machine
interesting.
village in the forest, These robots have disconnected from their network in the hopes of forming an isolated collective deep beneath the factory zone.
Yeah, dude, that's like every sect of Christianity that's like, oh yeah, we're like the four circle evangelical denomination free version of Christianity. The one that Jesus really, we're the ones that are actually the ones that know what's up, right? And there's a 400 of us, and we are have a little town, and we're the only ones in the universe that ever understood everything. That's basically
But
what
as the
these dudes
player
are.
arrives, the robots begin to go insane,
And then
either attacking each other
It's a cult. Exactly.
or committing suicide.
And what happens? Yeah, and then what happens at the logical conclusion at the end of every cult?
Under the belief that they will transcend and become as gods.
Dude, these dudes came from these. They all lived in San Francisco. I'll tell you what. That's where every cult comes from.
It's a pure and straightforward expression of Kierkegaard's real-world critique of the Christian religion. Religion becomes an institution, which justifies itself by becoming increasingly conservative and fundamentalist about its own beliefs.
True.
It eventually degenerates into a cult in which the lives of its followers are meaningless. The Kierkegaard of Nier Automata isn't a rational individual questioning organized religion anymore. He's the head of an apocalyptic suicide cult.
Dude, and holy shit, like they were like, oh, we're gonna take that to its logical conclusion and put it in a video game. Sorry, dude, that's already happened. Like, oh, I don't know, 9,000 billion times. People have already taken that to the logical conclusion. You're talking to somebody that has watched like every single cult documentary on Netflix, HBO, like Hulu, and like I love me some cult documentaries, and like, dude, you don't have to look very far to find a group of people that think they got the whole world figured out, unlike everybody else, and they all go into the woods and like build some kind of fortress and drink a bunch of Kool-Aid. We didn't. This. I'm just saying, this was the one thing in the game that, hey man, you ain't breaking too much ground. This has already been done. But kudos for you for putting it in there. All right, Nietzsche. We all know this dude.
Where the state ceaseth, there only commenceth the man who is not superfluous. I see. It seems this Nietzsche was quite the profound thinker.
Seems like it.
Or perhaps he skipped right past profound and went straight to crazy instead. Oh well, enough of that.
Yeah, enough of that.
Dreaming in Neon. Dreaming in Neon.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Are you starting to see a pattern?
No.
All throughout the game, a real-world philosophy is referenced and then subverted or turned on its head.
Oh, yeah.
And these different philosophers and belief systems are all concerned in some way with existence and identity.
True.
But the machines that embody these belief systems all come to unhappy, or at least unsatisfying ends.
True.
It's only very late in the game, towards the end of the third playthrough as A2, that we finally get an explanation for this bizarre mimicry of humanity.
Spoilers.
All of these robot philosophers are the result of the machine's built-in programming, which compels them to imitate human evolution.
Yeah.
After invading Earth, the machines rose up and killed their alien masters. But they soon realized that they had hit a dead end. They were doomed to stay the same forever, never improving, trapped in stasis. So they came up with a plan. They would
Dude, this is not safe for Twitch what they're doing right here. I'll tell you that right now.
continuously resurrect ancient human societies and philosophies as an evolutionary experiment in the hopes that they'd eventually evolve into higher life forms.
Okay.
The machines know that they're doomed to fail, just like the humans they're imitating.
Okay.
It's all part of their evolutionary process. And it's this, the different ways that the machines have failed to recreate humanity and human philosophy, that illustrates the ultimate meaning and message of Nier Automata.
Oh, that's creepy. Hold on, say that again.
Just like the humans they're imitating. It's all part of their evolutionary process. And it's this, the different ways that the machines have failed to recreate humanity and human philosophy, that illustrates the ultimate meaning and message of Nier Automata.
Well, but they didn't fail to recreate it, right? They were successful. There's just flaws. But they did the flaw wasn't in them recreating it. The flaw was just in the original source code itself. Right? Did I just figure it out? Did I just big brain it? Did I just big brain figure it out right now? All right, let's keep watching.
Throughout the story of Nier Automata, the ghost of humanity haunts both the machines and the androids. By the end of the game, the androids discover that humanity was never safely hunkered down on the moon like they believed. The human race has been...
That might be a bit more subjective. If you have maybe if you have like a different view of that, I'd love to hear it, because I feel like they successfully imitated the humans. It's just the original. Anyways, let's just If you, I'd love to hear something if you have
the leaders
a thought
of
on that.
know this and maintain the lie anyway, because as your commander tells you, we need a god worth fighting for.
We need a god worth fighting.
Humanity has become as gods.
Yeah.
This fable of a long-gone race of progenitors has become, literally, a religious institution for both the androids and the machines. And just like that, the audience's expectations are masterfully subverted once more. This is no story of a ghost in the machine, of robots developing a soul and learning to be human. This is a story where the real ghost in the shell is humanity, the long-dead creators of this world whose memory haunts machines and android alike. Some of the earliest science fiction stories have asked whether something unhuman can ever truly be human. Nier Automata is asking something far more interesting and subversive.
What is it?
Can you, the player, demonstrate that most human of characteristics, showing empathy for those outside of yourself, even for your bitter enemies?
See, I can do that, but if I'm in a video game, I'm still just gonna kill him, because that's the point of the game. If you have a sword, like, you're gonna just hit something with a sword. You know what I'm saying?
And as the game approaches its conclusion, it becomes clear that the only hope of a happy ending for our protagonists involves breaking free of the cycle of conflict created by their gods. If you're already fluent in the tropes of the JRPG genre, the use of this theme won't surprise you in the slightest.
Yeah.
Stories about fighting back against a corrupt church and even killing God have been part of Japanese games for about as long as there have been Japanese games.
Yeah,
But
sin.
that's a
You have
topic
to fight
for
sin at
another
the end.
video essay.
Yevon's teachings and the final summoning give the people of Spira hope. Without hope, they would drown in their sorrow.
Yeah, without hope, we won't have a character for Final Fantasy 13 that can. Never mind. Let's move on.
I live for the people of Spira, and would have gladly died for them.
Dude, I want to
But
replay
no
this game
more.
again soon.
The final summoning is a false tradition that should be thrown away.
As with every other expectation the player brings with them, Nier Automata subverts this trope too. As the game's opening monologue begins, players savvy to Japanese games will have a certain set of expectations about how this story will play out.
Yeah.
As a longtime JRPG obsessive, I know I did. After the opening sequence, I thought I already had the plot all figured out.
It's a major spoiler in this. Dude, I've already came this far. I'm not stopping now.
I often think about the god who blessed us with this cryptic
Is this like the part though where it's like the very, very ending where like it like really clicks and it's really, really like I really should maybe not spoil this part? Damn it, because like I am intrigued enough now of like from everything I've heard that I'm like maybe I can play through it a bit more, and I would don't know where it is in the video. Dang it. Okay, well I guess I'm gonna watch it then.
puzzle and wonder if we'll ever have the chance to kill him.
Yeah, duh, right, yeah.
But by the end, you'll understand that this opening was actually a genius act of misdirection. You, the player, are indeed trapped in a never-ending cycle, but killing God won't set you free.
What?
God is already dead. The player beats the game as 2B, and then you beat the game again from a new angle as 9S, and then once again as A2. As long as this cycle continues, there is no hope for a happy ending. After 12,000 years of unending war, with humanity replaced by a highly advanced and digitized consciousness, we find ourselves right back where we started. The contradictions between philosophy and theology still cannot be resolved, And the characters of Nier Automata are still grappling with the same question we've had since the beginning: the meaning of existence.
To this dude. Oh, I know what he's about to do. Yep. So that's this dude's
No matter
solution?
how far we've come, we still find ourselves trapped in a never-ending spiral of life and death. As the player climbs a gigantic mechanical Tower of Babel and speeds towards the finale, they destroy the artificial intelligence that has been masterminding the eternal proxy war between the machines and the androids. So by the time the climax arrives, 2B, 9S, and A2 are all dead. Their pod caretakers are preparing a final data wipe to erase all record of Project Yorha and the androids and usher in the next incarnation of this cycle of conflict. But the pods have a sudden change of heart. The combined weight of their shared experience has given them something akin to emotions or consciousness. They're willing to disobey their programming and recreate 2B and 9S's data in order to give them another chance at life. And this is when Nier Automata pulls its ultimate trick. In order to complete the game, the player has to literally blast their way through the end credits in a shmup sequence reminiscent of a Toho bullet hell game. In that sense, you do get to literally kill God. Not the gods of Nier Automata's narrative, but the actual architects of the world that you, the player, have inhabited for the last 40 to 60 hours.
The developers.
This sequence is tough as nails, and it's nearly impossible to finish on your own. Each time you die, the game serves up a yes-no question for the player that must be answered before you can continue. A dark mirror to the events that began the game. Is it all pointless? Do you think games are silly little things? Do you admit there is no meaning to this world? With every death, messages left by other players from all over the world appear in the background, encouraging you to press on and keep fighting. In this one beautiful moment, the game doesn't just break the fourth wall, it obliterates it entirely. With this moment, there is no longer a divide between the game's internal narrative and the audience's experience. The characters and the player must simultaneously confront their own failures and the grim hopelessness of their struggle, and
I got you.
Still find the courage to continue. Finally.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna let him say it. He knows what he's doing. Let's let him say it.
After many deaths on the player's part, the game gives you a prompt. Call for reinforcements? Once you say yes, reinforcements arrive in the form of other players flying in formation around you. The soundtrack takes on new weight as a chorus of voices, all singing in different languages, crescendo and meld together.
That's cool.
Including the voices of the game's production staff.
Yeah, I wish that wasn't spoiled for me. But that's okay.
Yoko Taro himself.
It's too late now. Yeah, you can't do it on your own.
Yoko Taro talked about how this final sequence of the game was inspired by, of all things, Coca-Cola's Small World marketing campaign. Coke placed sets of vending machine-shaped computers near the border between India and Pakistan, two nuclear-armed nations that have clashed several times in the past few decades, and are still officially at war with each other, despite a 2003 ceasefire. The people of India and Pakistan have every reason to hate each other, and are propagandized to do so by their own governments. But through the screens of these Coke machines, Indians and Pakistanis could connect with each other, see each other, and leave hopeful and inspiring messages. Despite decades of war and propaganda, humanity's innate love and kindness shines through. And with that, 2B and 9S are set free, finally, from the cycle. They're no longer androids of Project Yorha, but beings with their own consciousness and agency, who now have the choice to live life on their own terms. But then, the game confronts the player with one final request.
What is it?
In order to beat the endgame shmup sequence, the player almost certainly has to accept the call for reinforcements. Now, you're given the opportunity to act as reinforcements for someone else in order to help them finish their game.
Yeah, sure.
But to do this, you'll need to pay the ultimate price.
And wipe your data.
Deleting all of your game's save data, erasing your hard-earned progress. You have no way of knowing who you'll be helping, and they'll have no way of thanking you. And as the game reminds you, you might even be helping out somebody who hates your guts. Despite all that, will you still make the ultimate sacrifice and delete your game in order to help a complete stranger? The first Nier game pulled this trick before, and in service to a similar theme. At the end of that game, in order to save your companion and love interest Kaine and get the true ending, you likewise needed to give up your save file. But this time, you're not sacrificing yourself for a fictional NPC. You're doing it for a real-life, flesh-and-blood human. Nier Automata suggests that life is more than just hardship. We can find meaning in that struggle, and we can transform it into an act of kindness for a fellow human. In interviews, Yoko Taro has been very tight-lipped when it comes to commenting on the meaning and themes of his work.
Good.
From reading interviews with him, it seems like he absolutely loves to give cryptic and frustrating answers to reporters when they try to pin him down on this.
Like what could he say? What could he say that's like do you mean to do philosophy in your games? Yeah. Oh, I knew it. Like what what the fuck? Like what question could he answer that would be like illuminating?
On one level, I think this probably has a lot to do with Taro being far more shy of media attention than the handful of other video game auteurs out there. You'll never see Yoko Taro do this.
I was about to say, he's no Kojima. Which is great too.
We're going even deeper.
The storytelling of Nier Automata comes from a culture rooted not in Western Abrahamic theology, but in Eastern belief systems.
Right, which I don't understand.
One of the central beliefs of Eastern religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism
which I
is
kind of understand.
samsara, the belief that every living thing is trapped in an endless cycle of life, death, and rebirth.
Yeah,
Across the span of many lifetimes, each person must struggle to attain insight and enlightenment about the nature of existence,
and then to become
and
nothing.
Endure the suffering that goes hand in hand with being alive.
Yep.
It is only by arriving at nirvana, a state of true enlightenment, where we shed our attachment to earthly desires and material possessions,
and delete our save data,
and break free of the cycle of samsara.
Yeah.
Nier Automata suggests that even after humans are long gone, digitized versions of our souls will still be trapped in a far future sci-fi version of samsara.
Okay.
It is metaphysics, made literal. The same patterns will repeat again and again, with evolved forms of human intelligence returning to the same questions that have haunted us since the beginning.
Yeah.
Violence and war, the drive to reproduce and live forever through your progeny, and the search for higher meaning through religion.
Mm-hmm.
For the game's cast, these questions can only lead to existential despair. Nier Automata isn't telling you to drop what you're doing, pick up the prayer beads, and convert to Buddhism. The game simply suggests that one of humanity's oldest philosophical questions, the struggle for meaning in a meaningless existence, is the closest thing we have to a universal truth.
Is that what? Okay. All right. You say so.
The real-world parallels here are almost impossible to ignore. We live in a moment when it's never been more fashionable to demonize our enemies and to refuse to see the humanity in those who are different from us.
Why are you showing Britain?
Just take a look all around you.
This dude's American.
Fear of the outsider has become the guiding principle of the modern age.
We got enough examples
this
here.
Social imperative means that all of us, in turn, have been conscripted as soldiers in an endless war over who gets to be a member of the in-group and who must be excluded. As we become numb to the sheer repetition of bad news after bad news, conflict heaped upon conflict, we lose hope that we might ever find a way out.
True.
Because as Nier Automata shows us, this desire for domination is a dead end. It can only lead us down a spiral of misery and futility from which there is no escape. The repetitive nature of Nier Automata's combat mechanics intertwines with repetition in the narrative, and its us versus them cycle of conflict. And with their controller in hand, the player directly participates in a dialectical deconstruction and reconstruction of the pillars of humanist philosophy.
Damn.
Through this harmony between gameplay and themes, this ludonarrative consonance.
Hell yeah, dude. Fucking only took him 43 minutes to say ludonarrative. All right.
To understand how we must reject the cycle of conflict and the desire for domination for there to be any hope for the future. We must show love and empathy to each other. In a medium not exactly known for its love of pacifism or humanism, Nier Automata stands as a genre-defining work of art, one with a message that's vital and highly relevant to the current moment. The only way to escape the death spiral of modernity is for us to commit a senseless and selfless act of compassion.
Delete your game data.
We must have the strength to believe in something bigger than ourselves. Only then can we be free.
Yeah.
だが、違う未来の可能性も存在する。未来は与えられるものではなく、獲得するものだから。
All right, that's it. All right. Thus concludes the spoiler cast, huh? Alrighty. You got something else to say, buddy? What you got?
Thanks for watching. This video was the product of a year and a half of writing, rewriting, editing, revisions, and agonizing. I don't usually do longer videos because they're really hard to make when you're a one-person operation.
Time.
But this game is so special, I knew it needed the feature-length treatment. I am trapped in a never-ending struggle for visibility with the YouTube algorithm, so if you enjoyed this video, please share it with a friend. See you next time.
Dude, people love this, dude. People love this. I guess, I think if I was younger, it would really resonate with me. I think, again, like what I was just saying, it's like, I mean, I thought this was cool. I thought this was great. I think I've just in my personal journey of life, it's just like, I think like I've really been in some dark places where I've kind of confronted a lot of the things he's talking about, and I've already kind of came to that conclusion of that, like the only solution is to try to find is to just try to find in love and to continue to try and never give up, to, you know, and to just be a good person and to try and enjoy the time that you have with those around you, and bring as much joy to them and to yourself, you know, as possible. I've already like kind of really had an arc in my life, I guess what I would say. It's just like where like that I've come to that conclusion already, where it's like that like these things don't make me ponder so much anymore as much as they once did. That's why it's not that like, oh, I'm so intelligent that I already know all these things, but it's just like I've already looked these things up. I've already read a lot of this type of stuff, and like I've already thought a lot about these types of things, you know. Not to say, oh, and I figured it out, but I guess I've just come to the conclusion in my life that it's just like I don't really find a lot of value to ponder these things too much anymore, and I just try to focus on like what I'm doing day to day, and to just not really like, and to just know that I'm gonna die, and that it's, you know, it's all gonna end, and that's that, and you know, and I don't let that like overwhelm me. I let that, you know, inspire me to enjoy the moments that I have, you know, and then sometimes I still torture myself by playing this game on hard mode for 3 hours, you know, which is basically the opposite of everything I just said. But anyways, all right, let's play the game a little bit more. Thank you for sharing that video. Absolutely loved the video. Hard mode, yeah.